is 528 Millennium Stock, and I'm here with
Garrett Rose.
And Garrett. Where were you born?
I was born in Ventura, and my family relocated to Cayucas when I was in the 3rd grade. So I was about 8 years old when we moved to the Central Coast.
And what got you into fishing? Was it your family's urging? Was just kind of the main thing going on around here?
My dad, I grew up with my dad as a commercial fisherman, still is today. He's going on like 35 years in the industry, and I began working for him as like a child. Actually, probably like 12 years old, got my first paycheck from those guys, and I've been kind of loving the process ever since. But I went to school in Cal Poly. After school, moved to Santa Barbara, and now I'm back here trying to put my foot in the door in Morro Bay.
And so you're like the first job you had was just on your dad's boat, and you just were always on your dad's boat, or did you start your own?
I crewed for my dad on the Nicky J and a couple of his other boats when I was young, and then I had odd jobs like working on a purse seine boat doing squid during the summertime. Fished on some of the local nearshore boats here. Hopped on a crab and lobster boat in Santa Barbara after college. Was running another boat for my parents during that time, and about a year after finishing school and working on that crab lobster boat and then running the tours for my parents, I bought that boat from them, and I got my own rock crab permit and went out on my own.
So you've been doing it how long? I think total?
I don't know. I turned 30 this year, so I don't know. You could say 15 years of actually fishing pretty hard and steady. Yeah.
And when you first started, what did the harbor look like? Like, was there any changes to it? So
here in
far
Morro Bay?
Here, yeah. Or just like, you know, I know you taken over the.
Yeah. Yeah, so this has changed hands a few different times. My dad actually had this lease site at one point with a business partner before it went to Central Coast Seafood and ultimately Santa Monica. So it's kind of an interesting thing to kind of come back full circle with the Roses now having the lease again. It's like, I think it's 13 years later or something. So this has kind of always shifted, but when we first moved to Morro Bay, when I was a young kid, there was kind of a lull in some fishery like opportunity here in the port. The Nature Conservancy had just bought out all those drag permits and trawl boats. So there was, the South T Pier was like riddled with old steel, like abandoned drag boats. There was a little bit of salmon action. The albacore kind of stopped showing up here locally, and there wasn't much like open access pressure either. So it was kind of a dead time. My dad had moved the family up here because he was planning to go trolling, and he had a couple of good years. I first moved up here, and then he ended up being more nomadic with the fisheries. He'd be in Southern California during the winter fishing squid, and summertime squid up in Monterey Bay. So a few years after they moved here, though, him and the business partner that he had got a lease on a small dock down there, and they started peddling some fish and kind of building some marketing opportunities for the local fleet. Ultimately acquired this lease site, and there was a kind of boom on the groundfish side of things. There was a big open access quota for the sablefish, like blackgill rockfish stuff, and a couple different gear types utilized to catch that stuff, but they were moving quite a bit of fish. There was probably 30 or 40 open access boats here at one time in the like late 2008 to 2012 zone, like that. There was some activity that kind of blew up, and then those quotas were readjusted, and it kind of vanished, and it went quiet again.
Were there any processors, like when you were here, like made?
They were not processing here specifically, but they were moving the fish up to Central Coast Seafood, and Bessaker from Alaska was actually processing there at Central Coast Seafood and filling up containers, and then those were getting shipped over to Japan and China.
Were those live?
No, that was fresh sablefish that they would J-cut and glaze and blast freeze, and then fill in the container.
And Central Coast Seafood, is that the one
in Atascadero? Yeah, they have a location there. That got bought by Santa Monica Seafood.
And so they're still kind of have the name in the area.
The Central Coast Seafood? No longer. Santa Monica, absolutely, yeah. Part of their acquisition there, Central Coast Seafood had a contract with like Vaughn's and Albertsons. And so that's what Santa Monica, I believe, was after they acquired that contract when they bought Seven Coast Seafood.
And you're still selling to them here, or are you selling into the
Santa Monica?
Yeah.
No, I have not sold a pound to Santa Monica since we got the lease. We stuff ourselves. We have a refrigerated box truck, or we have buyers come straight to the dock and pick up here.
Can you explain just more about how you were moving fish? Your dad was telling me you were taking risks and
Yeah, sure.
going out, by yourself and going out fishing, then coming back and going up to the bay, buying, and coming back down all the way to San Diego. So
it's kind of. I mean, it's hustling in a perishable good, so it's kind of needs to happen in like a timely fashion. And I don't to describe it in like plainest form, just utilizing connections. I mean, I have some friends that I fish alongside, and you get to talking and. Hey, there's some salmon available, so I drive up there in my truck and buy 1,000 pounds, and I get calling around to people that I knew would want to buy some fish. Retail fish counters, people that are doing farmers market stands on weekends or even weekdays now, other wholesale buyers that are down in downtown LA or all the way to San Diego at times, and you're just kind of middlemaning the transfer of these seafood products. So I was doing that with a pickup truck when I first started, and then I needed a trailer, and then I needed a bigger trailer, and I had another truck and trailer going. Now I have a refrigerated box truck, and then we got the lease here on the dock. So that was an effort to secure more product and be more consistent. But really it was a lot of cold calling is how it started out, and now I get contacted by people that are looking for some product. So, yeah.
A lot of hard work there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so do you have set buyers, or do you kind of like just call when you have something and let them know?
Yeah, I mean, we don't, as of now, we're not doing anything in the means of processing or freezing products, so it's all fresh. So the last 7 days have been kind of quiet here on the dock, A little bit of live rockfish, the nearshore tanks have been fairly full, but we work around the weather, and so there's a Friday, Saturday window coming up here. We expect there to be some activity here on the dock, and then it will shut down for another 3 or 4 days. Springtime, we get a lot of weather here on the Central Coast, so a lot of wind offshore, I should say.
So when you're not hustling fish and driving, you're out.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what are you targeting?
I primarily fish ground fish. I have 2 A permits, federal A permits, two boats now. So we're fishing blackcod and short spine rockfish primarily. I do a little bit of blackgill stuff and lingcod fishing when the weather permits. I also have a rock crab permit. That's a year-round fishery. I don't have any gear in the water right now. I stopped fishing rock crab about a year ago, about the time we moved back up here. I pulled my gear out of the water down there at Point Conception, and I just haven't got around to poking around out here yet. I've been busy doing some other stuff, so.
And was getting those permits hard? Were they kind of like passed by your father?
No. That was all stuff I bought on the open market. The rock crab permit is a lottery system, so you have to enter into a lottery and your name gets picked out of a hat, basically. Once your name is selected, then you're able to buy the permit from the seller. I was fortunate enough to enter the lottery for 1 year and was selected the first year. The A permits, those are just expensive permits to buy, One of them I have is probably $160,000 permit. That's a tiered A permit. It's an endorsed A permit. And the other one's about $100,000 A permit. So just saving my nickels and putting it all together to have access to something. It's like buying a job. Instead of trying to fish open access where the quotas are far less and you can't be as consistent, you need to own a piece of the pie.
So was that a big stumbling block for you? Just kind of scraping together all that
absolutely. It's a
money?
barrier to entry. Absolutely. I know plenty of people that would love to be doing that, and it's just financially it's not in the cards. So people will lease these permits. I was doing that at first. I was leasing a permit from my parents, and then once I had saved up enough to buy my first, I bought it.
And what are some other challenges that you faced, besides buying all this permits, all
Sure.
these permits and things.
Well, how would I stay by what did I do? It's good. Sorry.
Short drop.
Snag that fish. There's been plenty of things. I mean, being a small boat commercial fisherman in the state of California, there's a lot of layers to that. Not only are you responsible for, harvesting the seafood, but you have all this equipment, this overhead that needs maintenance constantly, that needs upgrading, needs your attention and service. To pay a marine mechanic to come down at $200 an hour is not in the cards for most people. It's not for me, and I do okay. I am, by necessity, have become more handy and more focused on my mechanical inclination, because you need to be able to repair stuff. I bought a boat for my parents in 2018, and 2 months after I bought that boat, the engine blew up. So I had to look at what I had financially, and I came up with a plan, and I did a lot of the work myself. I learned a lot at that time. This boat that I just purchased 3 months ago, I just had the engine crater as well. So I just started a repower project on that here in the water 2 days ago. So,
Is that repower? Is that like a government
subsidized thing?
ordinance? Yeah.
Sure, they have programs to do that. I have not ventured into that yet. I will eventually.
Thank you, Bill.
That's the guy I do need to talk to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say that.
They got pretty simple one.
The 7C working group?
I think that was, I don't know, he didn't mention the name, but he just said
We were.
Jeremiah and Alan and him were on it, and they quit because they didn't want you to be second.
Yeah.
Are you part of that group at all?
No, they,
That group there's been no outcome positive response at all. It's just a dog and pony show.
mandate.
By the Coastal Commission and their consistency determination for offshore wind, and it's a multi-year long project that is supposed to come with some means and recognition of what needs to be mitigated or what does not need to be based on offshore wind's impact on the local fleet and the local area. They are currently doing site surveys, or they're doing the seismic testing right here, pounding away, and there's nothing in place to manage that or mitigate the impacts that are happening right here and now. I'm not fishing in an area right now because they are there, and I believe that it's going to influence my fishing in a negative way.
Have you been out there while they were out there?
Yeah, but I go 30, 40 miles away from them. Okay. I can see them on my navigation system. I can see them on the AIS. I know right where they are, and I steer clear of them. We were working in that very area before they got here, and now that they are, we
was that a very
drive away.
Like
productive area? Absolutely.
Area.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say 80% of what I do is about where they are.
Wow.
Yeah,
And the organization that you're part of, the Morro
Commercial
Bay
Fishermen's Organization? Yeah.
What is your, position and
Just a director. Yeah. I just have a voting chair, I guess.
And do you go to those meetings
Absolutely.
with the wind people? And
yeah.
Is there anything that comes out of those meetings that is productive?
No, I think those meetings are to check a box that they've engaged with local industry. They don't want to come to the table at all. We prepared the MBC, which is an agreement that was presented to all three call area leaseholders as a way to show them, hey, listen, we developed this package that acknowledges the impacts that you will for sure put forward onto us. This is how we'd like it to be mitigated. We spent over $100,000 drafting this agreement, and they won't even look at it. They're not going to do anything they're not forced to do. So we're praying that the state or federal level somehow comes to the table and forces them to mitigate what they're going to do to us.
And do you think the reason they're putting in these offshore wind farms is that, are they really pushing the green agenda, or is it because they're getting paid, or is it a combination of both?
I don't believe that project is a green project. I think it's a joke.
Kind of waving a
We've
sign.
never seen that. We've never done anything like that. Mankind has never done something to this scale. We're talking about 900-foot tall turbines floating 30 miles offshore, tethered to the ocean floor in 3,000 feet of water. I can't have a crab trap in the water during a certain time of year because there's a risk of whale entanglement. They can tether giant flotillas of these wind turbines offshore to the ocean floor with cables that are bigger around than I am. I don't see it as green.
No.
I think they get to pick their poison, and it just doesn't seem realistic.
How large of an area was that area?
400 square miles. 400 square miles. And we're looking to see if they will have transit corridors within that 400 square miles. I mean, that's a huge, huge stretch of ocean. Does it mean that we're not going to have any access to it? Is it going to be safe to transit through there? Are they going to be monitoring that and enforcing no transit? We don't have answers to a lot of questions. They haven't been forced to answer those questions yet. So,
how often do you meet with these? Is it like a weekly, monthly?
No, I'd say it was down to like every couple of months or something. And as of late, we had just filed a temporary injunction with the county clerk over here in San Luis. That was ruled out, and they're still pounding away out there. So,
and do you have to? Do they come to you at all, or do you have to kind of
wind companies
seek them out and find out where?
Initially, there was some kind of mutual communication, but as I said, I think that the last probably 4 or 5 meetings that I attended with these energy companies, they were there sitting at the table checking a box that they were required to check, that they had engaged with the local industry. And their story out of those meetings was a hell of a lot different than our story. So,
and
we don't want offshore wind here. We do not. We don't think that it's a green energy source. There's big flaws in the actual product itself. They don't last. They're going to need to be deconstructed. There's no plan in place for that. Giant reservoirs of hydraulic oil, 900 feet in the air, over the ocean. There's videos of windmills on fire. You've probably seen them. That happens out there. Who's going to take care of that? We get a ground swell out of the northwest every winter at about 30 feet and about 29-second interval. Are these things going to stay put, or are they going to bust free and crash into the National Marine Sanctuary that's 200 miles south of here? I mean, there's just a lot of what ifs, and the biggest what if is for us is, are they going to come to the table and acknowledge that they're negatively impacting us already? We don't have any acknowledgement of that. We were here first, and we want to be here after them. We don't want them to come at all.
Yeah. Is the national? I think it's the Morro Bay.
Yes.
Marine Sanctuary.
National Marine Sanctuary up there. Yeah.
I've heard that they recently just got extended all the way down from.
They would like to
where it was
open
there.
that. They would like to connect that National Marine Sanctuary to the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. And that would be referred to as the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. It's a giant area. And so it'd be about a third of the state becoming of state water, and outside of state water becoming a National Marine Sanctuary.
And so are these, the Chumash obviously are probably not very happy with this.
This offshore wind?
Yeah. And also the Marine Sanctuary people.
Yep.
Are they working in conjunction with you to fight these?
Not quite yet in conjunction, but we would hope that at some point maybe that kind of joining would make some force of an impact, Maybe that's what will happen here. So.
In your efforts to kind of let the community know about this problem. Have you been successful? Do you think that you've been successful in getting?
There's a program that Tom Hafer, our president of our organization's wife, I think she's the president of as of now, React. They're bringing a lot of awareness out into the community for sure. I talked to a lot of people that don't even know this is coming. I just saw an article a couple weeks ago in the Bay News that was about the huge proposed battery storage facility that they're looking to put right here on the bay.
Oh,
it'd be like one of the largest in the nation, right here on the water in Morro Bay. I think people are kind of up in arms about that. There's a lot of risk there. I mean, we are the area of interest due to the ease to connect into the grid here. We had this power plant that was functional for 10 years. It was 40 years or something. They can pipe right in through the rock, through that outlet tunnel, and right into the grid. So that's why we're a focal point. This is not a large boat harbor, as you can see. I mean, that looks pretty out of place here. Yeah. It's not a deep water port. We don't have the infrastructure to support this stuff. They're just pushing forward. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition. What I do know is what they're doing out there right now. When they came and did that for the cable companies to put the telecommunication cables in, it did impact things years down the road. We have larvae that lives in the first 15 feet of the water column. They're damaged. They're killed off. They cannot withstand that high decimal frequency for that prolonged amount of time. So it's a shame. It really is. But that's just one of our battles.
And in the same note, regulation.
Sure.
Not gonna. Well, maybe do you have any specific in mind that do you think either have significantly harmed you or maybe even helped you?
Listen, man, I'm 30 years old. I have all my eggs in this basket. I would be the first one to tell you that I am all about harvesting seafood sustainably and in safe practices, and that's all based on needing this to be the longevity of this to pay. I'm here to make $1, earn for my family, and live a great lifestyle. I can't be out there raping and pillaging and thinking, in a sane mind that this is going to be around and like this forever. So, are there certain regulations or new regulations that inhibit that? Absolutely. I know that our fisheries in the U.S. are by far and away the most scientifically based and managed fisheries in the world. We set the bar for the rest of the world. Now, when you see stuff like Seaspiracy come out, a documentary a few years back that came out on Netflix, that was a total gut punch to a local industry like this, where you have 3 or 4 different agencies enforcing regulations, monitoring catch rates, what comes across a facility like this, and then you get grouped into this thing like you're part of this worldwide problem of overfishing and the ocean's dying off. That's not what I see. I see a really healthy ocean with a lot of biomass. And that all, I'm sure, has to do with how we're managing some fisheries. There's some that are mismanaged for sure. But I would say that, that you can't ignore data, but I would like to see the way they procure that data change in some instances, that's for sure. Like maybe working more directly with a fisherman rather than, a scientist that does one tow in one area once a year. We're there, we're boots on the ground, if you will.
Yeah. And are you part of that observer program that
I take observers on my vessels, yeah.
Do they?
And I'm always engaging with that because I think that's a decent way to keep an eye on things, absolutely.
Do they change their minds?
Yeah, they're not. That didn't pass, which would have been a huge burden. The current observer program is what I said I engage with. We're forced to engage with them, but to have full-time observation on the boat is a joke.
Is that a recent one that you guys squashed?
Yes.
Did you remember the?
They did that at the federal level. Fishermen from Massachusetts, I believe it was. I forget the name of the case. Put it off the top of my head here. I'll remember as soon as you leave here.
Nope. And do you think there may be eventually some middle ground between, you know, maybe government regulation, these bush farms, anything that's these companies that are trying to keep the seas green or sustainable? Is there a middle ground, or is it always just going to be a fight between you two?
Yeah, I mean, that. I'd love to say there would be. Yes. Do I believe that the state of California is ever going to let go of some kind of control? Or no, I don't. I mean, this is California. People are leaving the state all the time. There's a huge exodus going on right now, and there's for good reason. I wonder myself at times. I want this to be around. I want this to be around for my kids. I think it's a great way to make a living. I think it's a cool lifestyle, and I don't see offshore wind and commercial fishermen getting along ever. I will say that they don't have us fooled, and they don't have it figured out. They're just throwing money at it.
Yeah, on the same note, is there like a hope for the industry in Morro Bay? I've seen
As a whole?
As a whole.
Yeah, I believe there is. Absolutely. I think there's opportunity. And I would like to create more opportunity here as far as marketing different stuff. Yeah, I'm a believer in it. I think there's like I said, a healthy biomass right here. I think that there's ways to go about it, and there's ways to earn a living, and I believe in a future. I mean, I'd be kind of crazy if I didn't, to be continuing down the road I am, right?
And with the like aging out of the fishermen, like Alan or Phil,
Sure.
Jeremiah just retired.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Why aren't people filling back in? I think there are. I mean, my crew guy on the boat is 31. I'm 30. You know, he'd love to have a boat of his own. He's working towards that. I know another 5 or 6 people my age on the waterfront that are fishing. You know, so it's coming.
Slowly.
Guys, slowly, yeah. I mean, it's a trade, right? And trades don't just go away. They just become more niche, or they kind of conform to the industry as the industry evolves, right? My brother, who's 16 months younger than me, did not want to become a commercial fisherman. He works in ag. He loves it. He thought it was a great way to make a living, but he ended up going a different direction. It's still here for him. If he could team up with me, I'd be stoked. It'd be a great time.
You maybe give some names to those fishermen that you that may be open to talking to.
Younger kids?
Yeah, younger guys.
I don't think any of them are going to be willing to do this, to be honest with you, Justin. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, Tom, he's a busy guy. It's tough for us. I think historically there's been a little bit of words have been skewed, edited. We've seen interviews be taken out of context, what have you, and I would love to say that people could confidently speak with a grad student at Cal Poly and think that things are going to go well out of this, but I think there's some that have their reservations. I don't know if you understand that or not. I just it can be
You said.
yeah.
Then on a
Yeah,
brighter
sorry.
note, yeah. Can you describe some of your favorite memories?
Fishing?
Just out fishing, doing whatever, hanging out with your dad, or hanging out in the water.
Yeah, man, I don't get much time on the ocean anymore with my old man. I did a lot of that when I was young. I think the last time we were on the boat together was probably about 6 months ago. And we had great fishing and great weather. You know, anytime I get something like that, it seems to be lasting. I've seen some really cool things on the ocean. You know, I've had male orcas following me around for 18 hours. I've I've had, big white sharks present themselves when I'm on the boat. Had them present themselves when I'm surfing from the boat down there at the ranch too. That was not as fun, but a lasting memory.
So
We get to see things and do some stuff that a lot of people, I watch pay a lot of money to go on a whale watching boat right out here out of Morro Bay Harbor. And that's stuff that I see all the time.
wow.
My wife and I went camping on the boat down at Avalon Harbor in Catalina a couple years ago. That was a pretty good trip. Lasting memory for sure.
Was there any time that you felt, you maybe weren't making it at home or anything like that?
I've had some hairy instances, encounters on the boat for sure. I blew the windows out on the boat one night, 2 windows. Waves crashing over the cabin and lost my electronics. I was about 40 miles from the harbor. That was a tough one. But no, I didn't think I was going home. I think you go into kind of overdrive and you make sure you do get home. I got a 8-month-old daughter at the house now, so fishing a little bit smarter, not in so much weather. Trying to live for someone else is your responsibility now, so.
Yeah. Well,
Right on,
thanks for speaking
Justin.
with me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely.